I am so glad I didn't overanalyze that situation then.
I have a great therapist.
Oh, share the number.
I will share the number.
At
and
the
she's
bottom
amazing.
of the screen. She looks like this and you look like that. And be able to talk to myself and say, but Shek.
Hello and welcome to Mindful Mondays with myself, Shudu. If you're joining us for the first time, this is your weekly dose of mental wellness enlightenment. And today we are joined by multi-award winning musician Shekhinah, and I'm so excited for it because the first time I saw her was on Idol so many years ago, and her life has just been a very colorful journey, obviously like any other, ups and downs, but I'm so excited to be speaking to her about something so beautiful and so personal, something that I noticed when I actually worked with you on set, that made me resonate with her, which is the idea of self-doubt. I struggle to delve deeper into it on a daily basis because in the industry that we're in, we just always expect it to go. But I'm excited for our conversation today.
Same. Ooh.
When I hit you up on Instagram, I was thinking about who I could speak to and sit down with and be super vulnerable with, especially about this topic, because it's something that a lot of people can look at us and be like, oh, we have it all figured out.
Yeah.
And every day, well, for me, when I wake up, it's like, I actually don't have anything figured out.
Yeah.
You know, you step out and you're just like, oh my God, another day to fake it till I make it. And then you go back and you just reflect on the days, but also on the passions that we have that require us to be out there as much as we are. But before we get into it, how are you in this moment?
In this moment, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. And also just resonating with our conversations off camera and on camera. I think it's very weird to be on screen and also hate being on screen, but then at the same time, like, the thing that you love requires you to do that. So I guess we have so much in common and we're so different. So I like that. Yeah.
Don't say different because your song is stuck in my head.
Okay, we're so not the same.
Not the same.
We're
That's
so
it.
not the same.
No, but like it's really that, because I think even off camera right now, we're all chatting with the different people on here around how the things that we love require us to be on screen. To be honest, I was actually telling Zintle, who's part of my comms team, that I actually don't go out. I only go out to do the things that I love and to be around safe spaces that allow me to not always feel like I'm just working to fit in or like not doubting myself too much. But I reflect on it at different ages in my life. And you know, like every stage of our lives has different significance. I mean, we met you when you were 16, but I wonder who Shekhinah was when she was 16 and 25. What did the world look like for you? And when you reflect on it, what are the similarities and the different growth stages that have come into your life in respect of how all of this is currently happening and how you have to show up every day, even when you don't want to be on camera?
Crazy. I think that's such a beautiful and interesting question. I think all stages I've been very similar in one thing, and that's my love for music and my love for performance. That's been very similar. I think what has changed over time is like how loud and bold I am about that love. I think the older I get, the more quiet I am about it. I'm like, you know, age and experience also comes with doubt, which is a weird thing.
Yeah.
I think when you're 6, you love to sing, you're loud about it, you're proud about it, no matter how good or bad you are. And then 26, 29, it's something that's a bit more like, there's a lot more other things now that kind of cloud that thing, which is obviously my love for music. There's a lot of other things that come before that now. Like, okay, but that means I have to be on stage. That means I have to interact. That means, you know, so sometimes I'm a bit more deterred to what I love these days, and not in a bad way, but just in a way that helps give light to all the other things that I am. I think I've spent so much time putting music in the forefront that I didn't really put my person, like who I am, you know, what I like, what I struggle with. I never really addressed those things. So I think with age and with time, I think 29-year-old me is still similar to 6-year-old me. She still loves music more than anything. She still laughs a lot, loves food. But I have to address all those other things now, which is whack.
No, it is. Because you know the interesting thing about children, I often go back to my inner child. Like, you know, like the 6-year-old you just loves music, doesn't really care what people say, whether you're good or you're bad. And maybe that's where we're similar in that respect, because 6-year-old me could try anything.
Yeah.
Show me a dance move and I think I can
I'll
do
do it right now.
I'll do it right now. And then 27-year-old me is like, am I gonna look stupid?
Yeah,
you know,
I'm not doing it.
am I doing it right? You know, like, and I always reflect on having a childlike spirit, but how the older we get, one would think that's the more carefree we're gonna get.
Yeah.
But instead, that's when all the voices in our mind and come into play, where the self-doubt, I wonder if it's really from other people or us, because like you say, you wanna put forward the person, but it's scary putting forward the person when you don't know how it will be received.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, like for me, when I say I'm an introvert, I really don't like being like in the spotlight or whatever. You can be labeled as rude or like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You chose to be
Yeah.
in this thing.
Yeah,
But the thing is, 6-year-old me said I could do it, and
Yeah.
I can't really not do it because it makes me so unhappy to not be
Yeah.
there. So how then do you deal with all the other things that come with your love and that come with basically your voice?
Yeah.
Because I find that using your voice is not the easiest thing.
No.
It's really not.
Using your voice and being yourself.
It's not.
Not easy.
The hardest question is, please tell us about yourself.
Like
That's the hardest question.
I don't know about me.
You know, because when people ask me, I like sort of I stutter a little bit. So I wonder, the moment you made the decision at 16 to actually put yourself out there, I mean, it's a competition. You're basically putting yourself in a place where you're going to be compared to other people.
Yeah.
And you're trying to prove yourself.
Oh gosh.
What made you do it, and how did you basically go through that process? Because you did it twice. So how did you have the courage to do it and believe in yourself so much?
Love rejection. I'm joking. I love rejection. No, I don't know. I think the people around me,
Yeah.
my sister, her boyfriend at the time, still her boyfriend today, the people around me that knew what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, they helped me take the steps, because I think many times that morning when I went to audition, did I say, actually, I don't want to go. I can't do this. I actually don't need it. And my sister was like, we're awake already. Don't annoy me. We're going. We're going to come back. We'll be home later on. So I think as much as I was determined, I've always been blessed with a really great and supportive community. I didn't think about what actually was happening, like what I was really doing. I just thought I need to go and sing and impress someone. So I think maybe at the time it's like a naivety thing, like you're not really analyzing the situation and unpacking like, okay, you're actually going to be going and competing and like trying to get people to like you or like tell you that you're good, or, you know, I think if I had put it that way, it would have been a different thing. So I'm glad that I didn't. I'm happy for naive 16-year-old me, because she got to live. I think if it was me in that body, I would have restricted and stopped myself from doing so much.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that she was naive in that. She did it twice because she also really enjoys, third person, she also really enjoys when people tell her she can't do something, because I love to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
So I went back. That's why I went back, just to say that I can do it. And I did go back and I did better.
Yeah.
I obviously didn't come number one, but yeah, I don't know, Shudu. I don't know why. I don't know why we put ourselves through these
I'm
things.
actually just reflecting on how it's people that say they don't want to be on camera, on stage, that are the ones that put themselves through that. Because I wonder, what is your relationship with fitting in and being accepted?
100%.
And then also going on a place
100%.
to a place like that, on a platform like that, and then like not liking the fact that you actually have to do this thing and people have to like you. It's almost like, I know, like, I really love this, but do I really have to do it? Why did you put yourself through that? Especially like knowing what you know now and how the world makes us feel like we constantly have to do everything to fit in. So you just want to sing, but you know that whole thing, Mama, I just want to sing.
Yeah.
But you actually can't just sing. There's so many things that come with it.
No, you also have to have a story. You also like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? There's so many great singers that go to idols and like they don't even make it to the television, but it's because, I don't know, maybe the producers didn't find you interesting enough. And yeah, it's so crazy. I am so glad I didn't overanalyze that situation then. And my biggest fear was like not making it. Because if I had to really unpack it at this age, she wasn't going anywhere. She wasn't doing anything. And I guess that would have just made the route different. But I think that's another thing. Like in your heart and soul, you know where you're trying to be. You know the destination. I think it's just the route that you take to get where you want to be. And sometimes we take funny routes, you know what I mean, to get to where we want to be. But that's not to say like it's bad or it's, you know. I think it's interesting that somebody that hates to be judged is, you know. But then it also brings up, like you said earlier, it also brings up like, what's that need? Like what's that?
Yeah,
What's that little validation thing that you struggle with? So imagine thinking that when you're 16. I don't think we were that woke.
I don't think
in 2000 and whatever, you know. I don't think so.
And I think therapy makes us work to these things, and it's like a beautiful but very ugly conversation when you
horrible.
like it's a beautiful but very ugly conversation when you're aware, because when you're 16 you don't think about those things.
No.
I remember the first time I was bullied for 7 years, but the first time I got to the school that I was at, in the village, no one cares. You just dance if you want to sing, if you want to. You think you can beat Beyonce, but you may not even have remotely like the talent that she has. But I remember taking that attitude of not really caring what people think into my new school. And I remember I went up, they're like, show us your talent. I went up and I was trying to show them my talent, but I'm very bad with lyrics, by the way.
Oh gosh.
And I was in a class with girls that are very good with lyrics. You know, the ones that will say it's not.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
actually.
but that's high school, yeah.
And then, like, when I think about it, I was like, I was so brave and I really didn't care, because for me then, I didn't really have a weird concept or understand what it means to actually want to be accepted, to be validated, to want to fit in. And the whole thing around like imposter syndrome maybe, or even self-doubt, it didn't really exist in my mind. The only places where self-doubt existed was probably with academics, because from a very young age, from 6 years old, you're told this mark means this and that means that. But in terms of living out the things that are in your mind, you know, when they say let your intrusive thoughts win, I just genuinely didn't care. But then I think about the journey that comes with self-awareness and like the performance of perfection, and how the older we get, one would think that the more knowledge we have, the less we'll care. But it's like, that's when we care the most.
The most.
So I just wonder, like, yes, you've put yourself out there. You're not on Idols anymore. You're actually on a grander stage. You've won many awards. But how does that help? Or you're not in a competition anymore, like one would like to think. But how does that really then fit into the performance of perfection, wanting to fit in, being validated, knowing how great you are? Because people think that awards will make you just feel like, oh, I've got it all figured out. People think knowing that all of us here like love you so much will make everything feel, I don't know, better. And the self-awareness that comes with therapy and sitting there and basically putting yourself out there and understanding yourself more, but sometimes it feels like there's a microscope or a light constantly that makes you have conversations with yourself almost every single day around those things. How do you deal with that? And how do you make sure that they still don't stop you from waking up and feeling awkward on stage, knowing that you're using that beautiful voice of yours?
Oh, gosh. Okay, so I do feel like these intrusive thoughts, I love let the intrusive thoughts win. I'm big on that. And it's not good all the time, but I think there's times where I'm like, okay, but why did you feel this way? Okay, you're feeling less than, okay, let's unpack it. Okay, so-and-so looked at you funny. Okay, who is so-and-so? Okay, what do they like, I am an overthinker, so I do like to I do like to like unpack with myself in my mind, but I do sometimes like, I don't know if it's unpopular opinion, but I do sometimes feel like I need those moments where I'm like criticizing myself, or like, not criticizing, it sounds harsh, but like where I'm taking stock, you know, of the situation. It's not idols, like you said, anymore, but there is still so much happening around me that could possibly potentially be a similar situation, you know, just a different microcosm of an idol's like kind of thing in my own life. And I think it's important for me to actually address it versus like being 16 and just getting through it. But then now at my big age, I have to think, okay, Shek, what is that need to be accepted by others? What is this, you know? And I think going to therapy, trying to have those conversations, very uncomfortable. And then being asked about your childhood and being like, but I had a great childhood. You know, where's the issue? And you start to unpack and you start to realize that, okay, this is what was happening all along. And I think it's important to know. And once you know, you can move forward more informed. You can arrive at that stage and then have that feeling and be able to talk to that feeling and say, this moment is just you, there's nothing deep about what you're about to do. Like, it's okay. You're safe. You know what I mean? You're safe within yourself. And that's good enough. So I think nothing much has changed nothing much has changed with my intrusive thoughts and feeling like, you know, it gets worse. There's genre, there's piano, there's pop, there's age. I'm older now. There's relevancy, there's ageism, there's all these things now that I have to deal with, and I have to deal with it from a more informed perspective now. I'm not 16 anymore. I'm not naive, you know. The veil has been lifted. So I have to see things for what it is. I have to say, okay, this is what's happening. This is what's making you feel insecure. She's 24, you're 29. That you're insecure. You know, this is what's making you feel insecure. She looks like this and you look like that. And be able to talk to myself and say, but Shek, you can't compare apples and bananas, or, you know. So I'm not against intrusive thoughts, which is my toxic trait. It's like, I like to sit in them and really just have that horrible experience of like, why do you hate yourself right now? And talk myself out of it, I guess. Sometimes we don't have therapy, you know? And I think sometimes you do have to have a conversation with yourself. I don't know.
Therapy is talking to yourself, essentially.
Right?
Because I had to come to I have a great therapist.
Oh, but share the number.
I will share the number.
At
and
the
she's
bottom
amazing.
of the screen.
But the thing about that is I realized that I'm going there to speak to myself. Because the thing about intrusive thoughts, she'll never tell me what to do. She'll give me advice and say, don't do B, but until I'm ready not to do B,
You're always going to do B.
You're always going to do
100%.
B. And just listening to you now, like those conversations, because I have similar conversations, how healthy are they? Because they're hard, right? But then where do we find the balance between I'm an overthinker by nature.
Yeah,
I've always
same.
been. I can sit with myself for hours just thinking.
Yeah, same.
And like you're saying, there's so many different things around us, like where you compare yourself to people that you can't really compare yourself to, and you're dealing with a world that is so fickle. It's like water changes form all the time.
Yeah.
One day people like sparkling water, the next they just like still water. They're
Yeah.
actually so sick of sparkling water. The next day you have a weird obsession with aloe vera water, and then
Yeah.
the next you just honestly
like
just want
that.
still
Yeah.
water. So how healthy are the conversations that we have with ourselves, and especially around the intrusive thoughts of being hyper aware instead of just being aware? Because there's the hyper awareness of like having this conversation and you're like, girl, is this
Yeah,
is this
then
really
you
a
it's
healthy
like,
conversation
am
right
I
now?
ticking a bit?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, like you're like spazzing a bit, and you just like to yourself, if you are having this conversation, how honest is inner me really being with me right now? And how much is it feeding into what's already there? Because you think you've reached a conclusion to that conversation, right?
100%.
But how healthy is it if it's just you and you?
Yeah.
You know how your sister said when you went to audition, girl, I'm up, so you're gonna go whether you like
Literally,
it or
she
not.
was so annoyed.
She was so annoyed, exactly. And your mind has already taken you there. But without having that voice, and the conversations, the thoughts, the overly awareness, because as an overthinker, you can analyze this plant. You can even find out how it was
100%.
planted just by sitting by yourself. But how healthy is it, have you found, that the awareness that you have about yourself?
Sure. I don't know. I don't know how healthy it is. I don't know like what the limit is. Like, where do you stop? And
It's so hard to stop.
yeah, because it is hard. You can literally. My friend told me it's like monkey mind. Like your mind is showing off. Like
Yeah.
it's creating all these different scenarios for you. And you point to this plant, and I'm like, oh, you know, the plant didn't have a choice but to be right here. Is that cruelty? Like, is it cruel? My mind can go far.
Yeah.
Like, it can go very far. And I think, like, there needs, like everything, there needs to be a balance. Like, you can only have so much of a conversation with yourself before you have to stop and be in the moment.
Yeah.
So I think that that's also important, is to remember to enjoy the moment. And I think it's something that I would love to just tell everyone that's younger than me, that like, it's not in the destination, it's in the journey, which is so cheesy. But at the end of the day, it's like 2019 was so long ago, but it just felt like a year that was never going to end for me.
Yeah.
But now it's like in the past. So I just feel like it's important to remember to stay in the moment. I think it's important to have a therapist, someone that you can bounce these conversations off of,
Yeah.
and can gauge whether you're doing it unhealthily, maybe like me, or you're doing it healthily like Shudu.
No, actually it's not. I can tell you now that it's never really healthy, because there's times where I think I have it all figured out, and then my therapist is like, why did you do this? And, you know, like I have like a general idea and I'm listening and whatever, but then I still go and do it anyway.
Yeah. I think that's fine.
So it's like, I just think we never really have it all figured out.
Yep.
But as overthinkers, like, it works for me because I feel like my mind can piece anything together. But at the same time, I had to have the recognition where, have you seen in like those shows where like you ask yourself, what is wrong with me? Whether that's the natural inclination of asking those questions to self, instead of saying what is happening and what has happened to
Yeah.
me to lead me to this point. I read this book. I keep referencing it because that was the first time I actually understood how my mind works. I gravitate towards self-doubt, bashing myself, feeling like I'm not good enough. I mean, before I stand in any room and they ask me to do something that I know I'm good at privately, and then I have to do it publicly, I've already judged myself until
Yeah.
someone says, oh, this was actually really good. And I'm like, huh. And then it's almost like they have to play the convincing game with
yeah,
me
I'll stop.
to convince me that what I have just
Francine.
done is good enough. But this is someone who claims to be so self-aware, but then I had to hear it from like, I don't know, my boyfriend or my friend who's like, oh my God. And then I watch their facial expression.
Yeah.
It's not what they just say, but it's how they look when they're saying it. And then I take it, if the facial expression doesn't match the words, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe they're just lying to me. Surely they're just lying to me. And then 3 months or a month down the line, I listen back to it or I see it again. I'm like, this was actually really good.
Nice.
And then I'm like, oh, why didn't you tell me it was good? They're like,
Right.
but I did tell you. You just chose not to believe something good about yourself. So, like, that's what I'm trying to say about the overthinking, where we think we have it all figured out. So, like, yeah, therapy can only do so much. That's what I've learned about life. But how do we get to a point where we start having healthy conversations around who we are, the decisions that we make, the things that we have, and essentially the imposter syndrome, where we look like we have it all figured out, but the truth is we don't.
Yeah.
What is that conversation? What does it look like? Is there even like an end point to it? Maybe I'm even asking myself this question.
Yeah, no. I don't think there's an end point. And I think that's, and I asked my mom this question recently as well.
Yeah.
Because I was going through something weird this week where I was struggling with boundaries.
Yeah.
I do struggle with boundaries. I'm a yes person, and I struggle to say no. And I'd rather disappoint myself than anyone else.
Yeah.
But my mom said to me, I said to her, I'm like, Mom, this is a situation. And she was like, oh no, baby, boundaries are what's there to protect us.
Yeah.
And then I said, thanks, Mom. And then she gave me a little advice. She's like, rather say this to the person. And I said, okay, cool. And then she laughed. She's like, ah, ha, ha, ha. Boundaries are a thing you'll be trying to put into place your whole life.
Yeah.
And I kind of got discouraged when she said that, because I was like, I'm the person that's like, I get tired of paying school fees. Like, I get tired of learning the same thing over and over again, making the same mistake. But at the end of the day, I think we're going to keep doing it. It's going to keep happening, and perfectionism is like not real, and we're always going to be weird.
Yeah.
And we just need to be okay with that. So I'm trying to accept the fact that for the rest of my life, I'm going to be learning. And that stresses me.
But
stresses me.
There's no issue with that. I know it's like stressful that
I'm going to make a mistake.
I'm going to make a mistake, and it might be a mistake that I should have learned from 2 years prior. And the thing about it is, you know, the hardest thing that I've had to learn about life is I allowed it. So when something happens in my life and someone crosses a boundary or I get hurt,
100%.
at first,
That's my thing. It's like, I did it myself.
I did it myself. Like, I remember, I think it was like 2 years ago, my therapist was like, we're going to need a good 6 months to work through boundaries. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, 6 months work through boundaries, because I'm also the same person. The world teaches us that when we say yes to people or we make them happy before ourselves, that means we're selfless people. So it's also like a validating thing to us, where
babe, it goes right back to
it goes it goes right back to that, where you think, oh my God, it makes me a good person. But when you like think back, that person is happy, they're flourishing.
Like acceptance, like.
But that's the thing, that when we try to unpack it, it's such a ugly It's such an ugly conversation. I bought a book. This was a conversation 2 years ago about boundaries. I bought a book a week ago about boundaries, because you can never know enough. And the thing about life is that you'll constantly learn. It just sucks that you have to learn with your heart. Oof. And you have to learn with like how your self-image as well, and how you doubt your decisions, because there's times where you never know if this is the moment I'm supposed to be saying no.
Yeah.
But if I'm overthinking my no right now, overthinking my yes right now. So you sit with yourself over and over again. But maybe that's the beauty of the journey, where the learning is great because you get to take stock of how much you've actually learned up until that point. Because I don't think the yes person that you were 5 years ago is the same as the yes person that you are right now. It's just that we're so hard on ourselves about the time frame that it takes us to learn the lessons.
Yeah.
Because you always feel like, I should have known
this.
Yeah, I should have known this. I should have known better. But the last 6 months have been, I allowed it.
Yeah.
You know, even when you are having conversations with people, it could be in a friendship, you realize that you've actually been the one that's allowing this to persist in life, you know.
Yeah.
And even the comparisons, like, you know, you made a comparison around apples and bananas, piano, pop, piano, R&B, completely different things, right? And you know what you love, you know what makes your heart,
Yeah.
you know, like work the way that it does. But the thing about it is we know these things, but it doesn't stop us from still feeling like we don't know enough, and maybe we need to be the ones that adapt. And when your mom gave you that advice, the truth is you might find that she's still learning as well. And she's laughing because it can be a reflection of what she's thinking about. Because parents have a way of doing that, where they're learning through us. They're giving us the best advice, do as I say, not as I do type of thing. And then you learn that it's a continuous journey. You know, there's this book, I'm going to recommend it to you.
Please
bottom
do.
of the screen again. But it's called Ego is the Enemy. And there's a part that says, you're always going to be a student. It made an analogy about a guy who was running, I think it's like $1 billion company. By the time he left, the company had like basically collapsed. And then they asked him in an interview, how did you do that? How did you do that? And then it's like, you must be CEO for 4 months and then come back to me and ask me that question. And the thing is, the guy went on, I think it was Ego is the Enemy, or Psychology of Money. But another guy went and took over a company he's been running for 25 years. In 4 months, that guy failed. Because the truth is, we think it's easy to just like, you know, understand things and still be self-aware and learn from other people's mistakes. But the truth is, everyone is constantly going to learn. It's easier to give advice, even for therapists, it's easier to give advice because you're not in the situation.
Yeah.
But the decisions that you have to make in that nick of time, or like that moment when it's happening, where you know you should have said no, but you said yes.
Yeah.
But when you have to go back and say no, how do you even begin to explain it?
Yeah.
So it's like a whole...
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the other perfectionist thing and the acceptance thing and the fitting in thing. But...
And creating these tools, right?
Yeah.
Like you just said, which is pretty cool because it just helped me in the moment, where it's like, what do I do now when I'm going back on what I've said to try and reinforce a boundary that I should have a long time ago?
Yeah.
Excuse me. And know that that's okay to do so as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to go back and say, oh, I'm so sorry. I've thought about it, and I actually meant to say, this is what I meant to say. And it's trying to have tools, and I think we don't do it enough as people, because sometimes we like to stand in our situation. Like, if I said something, I want to stand my ground and know that, you know, even if I'm wrong, I'm still gonna, you know. I think it's okay for us to say, no, you know what, I actually struggled to say no, and I didn't want to say no in the moment because I didn't want to disappoint you, but I'm not going to be able to do ABCD because, you know, I think it's just about having this toolkit, you know what I mean? Like this being a person little toolkit where it's like, it's okay to go back and say, I made a mistake, or actually that's not what I meant. Like, things are not set in stone, you know what I mean?
And to be honest, like you're saying, I actually struggled to say no.
Yes.
You know, if you say that, actually just
say that.
Because I was just thinking about it, but I'm like, why can't we be honest with ourselves and other people? And maybe it goes back to the acceptance thing again, and the doubting if that will make you seem less than or whatever. But I'm just like, do you know how many things would change if I say to a person, or you say to me, or say to you, can I just think about it? I need time, because I actually struggle with saying no. So before I make a decision right now, because I actually feel pressured.
And not by you.
Not by you, just by myself and my thoughts and whatever. Because we think that makes us seem, you know, like, I don't like that word, but crazy, because that's how we bring ourselves down in our thought processes, and we feel like we have to say yes right now. I was in a meeting and I didn't like what those people were saying, and part of me wanted to speak right there and then. And then this lady who was in the meeting with me, who works in my team, said, don't say anything. We'll respond at a later stage.
Fair enough.
But when she said it, I was like, oh, it was that easy? She literally just said that. She's like, we're going to need time to think about it and respond at a later stage. But mind you, it's a meeting with so many people. But what if
felt like you needed to have an answer?
I felt like I needed to have an answer in that moment. I didn't have time to think about it. There's like 10 people here. You feel like you're disappointing people who never really expected anything from you.
Yeah.
And those people are asking you questions you never expected from them.
Yeah.
So why do you have to give them grace and not give yourself grace? But like what you just said now for myself as well, it's like, oh, I could have just asked for time.
Yeah.
Or I could have just gone back and said, I felt pressured in that moment, not by you, but I just didn't know how to say no. But I've thought about it, and fulfilling this to you means disappointing myself in one way or another.
Yeah.
But why do you think that we can't say that?
It goes like, it's full circle back to like, I just want to make people why?
Why?
Like, why do you want to make everyone happy? Like, why?
Why do you think you're
like, why? That why is for me, you know, like, Shek, why? And my friend said this to me because I did have a weird moment where I chose myself, and then I ended up crying because because my friend had to leave. I had to be honest with her and say that I needed space, you know. And then she left because she heard me. She took it, and then she's like, cool, well, I'm gonna stick to my flight, it's leaving it. And it's not that I wanted her to go, I didn't want her to go at all, but I had to be real with myself and say, yo, I've had guests for about 4 weeks straight now, and Shek, I think you need some solitude, you know. And in saying that, meant saying goodbye to her, meant being emotional, meant crying, meant and the first thing she said to me when we closed the gate, she's like, choosing yourself is hard, hey? And when she said that, it hit me because I was like, I cried because I was saying goodbye. But if I'd said yes and let her stay, I was just going to be moving through the house anxious and like kind of annoyed and
thinking very intrusive thoughts as well.
Intrusively, like, oh, I can't believe my house is so full, and like, you know. But it sucks to choose yourself. And it doesn't feel nice. And I think also, as human beings, we don't like to be uncomfortable. You know, we don't like to realize that doing things that are good for us sometimes don't feel like, it doesn't feel good.
It's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. But then also, like you're saying, the intrusive thoughts for someone that you love like that, where you know you need solitude.
If I can tell you how the universe rewarded me that particular day for choosing myself, it was testimony.
Really?
We won't go into it, but it was testimony. I realized that, wow, this wouldn't have happened if I didn't put that boundary in place and say, I'm actually overwhelmed and I actually need my space. So much happened after that moment that was never going to happen if there was chaos in my space. So I think I am in the space now where I will go back and I will say, oh, I suck at saying no. I've thought about this. Sorry, I'm doing it over the phone.
But I can't.
But in person, I know that I'll struggle to be honest with you, and I want to be honest with you. So I'll just text you, which is why I also don't like phone calls.
I also don't like phone
Don't
calls.
call me and put me on the spot. I'm a yes girl. Of course I'm going to say yes. Or, you know what I mean? Rather text me. And if I say yes via text, that means I'm in. Because I've had time to say no. And I've had that boundary between us, the phone, you know, the distance. So I don't know what the question was or where we were going with that. But you're allowed to come back and change your mind.
I think what you've just said now about texting as well and giving people time to think about it. I think there are a lot of people that know when you're a yes person and they call you on purpose or ask to see you in person to ask for stuff on purpose. I say this because it happened with a family member where they texted me, they're like, no, we need to see you in person.
No, you don't.
And then I'm like, you can't tell me over the phone. Like, now I'm trying to figure out what it is. I kid you not, I was so angry that they asked me to my face because they knew that I couldn't say no in that moment, when they could have literally said what they wanted. Then I could have gone knowing exactly what to expect, having thought about it. But I feel like texting also just helps you think about it.
100%.
But people that put you on the spot, there's people that actually recognize those weaknesses. And in that...
I didn't want to say that.
No, I said it.
But you said it.
No, but like I had to leave. Like I left, I did whatever they wanted, but like I also put my boundaries very clearly. Like, next time, please send me a text so I have time to think about it and not be pressured into saying yes. I made them recognize that I feel pressured to say yes because this is a very complicated situation for you. But next time, I don't appreciate this. I left,
And when I left, I felt so bad. You know that thing where you have no one validating if what you've done in that moment is the right thing. Did I make the right decision? And I had to call someone. I'm like, this is what happened. Did I make the right decision? I even had to go to my therapist. This is what happened. Did I make the right decision? Because the self-loathing also comes in because you're not used to drawing those boundaries. But also, there's a recognition of your friend was like, choosing yourself is hard, hey? But that's a good person because they had to recognize that that was hard for you.
Yeah.
But we need people that can accept those things in our lives, where you can say, hey, dude, I struggled to say no. So I'm going to need at least like even time away from you to really think about it without putting you first before myself.
Yeah.
Because a lot happens when you choose yourself. It's uncomfortable in the beginning and you have to stick to your guns, because that's the other thing, like sticking to basically what you've just said.
Exactly. That's the root of the thing, is putting up a boundary and making sure you stick to it.
Yeah. And it's not easy. It's not.
And I feel like, not to bring men into the conversation, but I feel like it happens a lot with men and women and our interactions. I can go home with you and I can be standing in your space and then realize that I don't want to be here anymore and I want to go home. It's not like whatever, but women are allowed to change their minds.
Yeah.
And they're allowed to do that at any point that they want to.
Yeah.
And we just need to, I don't know how as a society, to make it okay for people to say, to, you know what I mean, and not be so hard on people and like expectant and, you know, I'm saying I don't think this is a good idea. You're like, no, it's fine, babe. I'm like, okay, fine. Yeah. You know, and then next thing I know, we've been doing this for 6 months, or whatever the situation is, or something weird happens, and now I'm living with this thing forever. And I think
that's happened.
Yeah, you get me. Like, I'm just thinking about what you were saying now about sitting in the car and having that conversation with yourself, like, did I even do the right thing? It's so important to say it, and to, because you sit with the uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
and they're happy.
And they're fine. But you've made me uncomfortable, which is why I'm so big on like having conversation and not holding on to things, because we need to share this together.
Yeah.
I'm carrying the load of like this. I need to share it with you and say, this made me uncomfortable. Let other people take responsibility too. And that's, I think, is the adverse of not choosing yourself or not putting up your boundaries, is you sit with double. You sit,
because you're carrying it on behalf of the other person as well, and you end up changing your behavior towards them.
That's the thing, and you don't even want to. Now you get a different side of me.
Yeah,
you get a snappier, colder,
and then you reflect on that. You're like, oh,
you're
I'm
like,
such a bad person.
Yeah, I'm such a.
I hate myself. Oh my God, who was that person? And then you end up apologizing for a feeling that's actually very valid. It's like a whole circular thing.
Thank you.
But I also feel like it goes back to our childhoods. I hate like being that therapist person, but it goes back to our childhoods, because children actually also don't have the ways of saying no without feeling like they're being disrespectful. So how do we change that? Like that analogy can also be used for a child who said yes to a play date, but they actually don't feel like it anymore. Yeah. But because you're scared, like what other parents will say, or what other people will say, you find yourself just like being that child who goes to play with this child who they're actually very uncomfortable with, or they don't want to like play with that child in that moment. But consent goes, and using your voice and actually letting people use their voice starts from childhood. But I feel like there's so many spaces that don't really allow that. And then when we're older and we're women and we've been conditioned to be just like, yes, to make everyone comfortable. Now that we're the woke generation, it's like,
I love that, because the woke parents were not allowed to kiss your child on the cheek. We're not allowed to pick up your child. And I love those things.
Yeah.
And they seem taboo and like snobby or better than, or like, please, you haven't washed your hands, please, you know what I mean, don't touch my child, or I don't know, that thing with the sanitizer from
I'm the sanitizer girl.
from that old episode of Real Housewives. Like, it's just, I love it, because And that's why I said maybe 16-year-old me back then, it would have been weird to address certain things with like me back then, because we weren't having those woke conversations then.
Yeah.
Not to say our parents weren't woke.
Yeah.
They've always been woke.
Yeah.
It's just about access. We have more access now. Things are different. We can no. It's just allowing kids to say, no, thank you. I don't like when auntie pulls my cheek. I don't like that, you know. If we teach them that from a younger age, maybe they won't be 29 and having to go back and say, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
I hope so.
So, you know, when we speak about how a lot of 16-year-olds, us, and like 9-year-old us, when you had someone that made you feel uncomfortable and you couldn't really say it because of like respect. The most beautiful thing happened recently. We were with my niece, right? And her uncle, who is like her dad, like super close, whatever, she drew a boundary with him. She said, I think it was touching her hair. She said, no, only my daddy can do that. But it was such a beautiful boundary because she knows who she feels the most comfortable with.
Yeah.
You know, it's something so simple like him touching her hair. You
Said
know?
it.
He can
Proud of her.
take her to the bathroom, whatever. But like she's like, only my daddy can do that.
Yeah.
And then the dad also expressed that he feels uncomfortable sometimes because she speaks up about the things she doesn't like, but he can't stop her because he needs her to always speak up about the things that she
Yeah.
doesn't like. And I think our parents, it's not that they were not woke. I just feel like societally, like the construct around us made it really difficult for them to speak
To
up
speak
without,
up,
like you're
yeah.
saying, feeling like it's a better than thing. But when we think about our lives holistically, it trickles into other things like our boundaries, the things we don't like,
So much, babe.
the things we do for other people
Yeah.
versus ourselves.
Yeah.
And then you go home and you're like, I'm depleted. I actually don't want to go out for the next 5 days because every time when I go out, I find myself in a situation where I'm beating myself up for something I should have said
Yeah.
and didn't say.
Yeah.
And especially in your industry, how do you then deal with the imposter syndrome that comes with it, where you know what your inner self is saying? You know, that other person who say, don't do that, don't do that.
My higher self is always like giving me the side eye.
The side, like you
She's
know
always
better.
like, there's no way. Jeez. It's hard because, like we've said, I just want to be liked. You know what I mean? I don't want to be perceived to be, you know, a diva or whatever. But hey, I'm just at the space and at the age where I have to know myself, and be like, I'm not a diva, and I'm not a B word. So you can think that and you can have that perception, and I can't change that, or I don't want to actively have to try and change that because that would require energy from me, and I don't want to give this any more energy. But I do struggle because I do want to be liked and, you know, accepted, and I don't want to feel like an outsider in a space where I want to belong, which is a music industry. So I will say yes to certain things, but I'm learning, to be fair. I'm learning to have boundaries.
Yeah.
I'm learning to know that, okay, this studio setup is not for me. There's too many people. There's too many weird things happening. This is how I like my space. This is when I'm more creative. Well, you know, with time, with age, start to know yourself, and hopefully put yourself in better situations that serve you, you know. Yeah.
But how do you then get over the need to, because it's embedded in us from childhood, the
Yeah.
need to be liked and to fit in. And I mean, with every person, it's different where that stems from, you know. But in your industry then, how do you draw those boundaries without feeling like you made a mistake, you know? I was in a meeting where someone threatened to like blacklist me.
Sorry.
All because I drew my boundaries. But my thing is, I'm at a stage where I'm okay with not being liked.
Do it then.
But like to a point where I was speaking for myself and then I realized, okay, maybe I should get someone else to say everything that I
Yeah.
want to say, because especially as women, those boundaries feel like, or those limitations feel like they're always
for us, you know, because the B word is always at the door for everyone every single time you want to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
So how do you get to a point where you draw those boundaries for yourself, especially in your professional career? I know personally it can be more difficult.
I'm doing better. I'm doing better. I'm doing better. I'm doing better at drawing my boundaries and feeling how I feel. I sometimes get a bit nervous because I feel like the most popular men in my industry, I have feuds with them, you know. I do. And a lot of the time I felt really bad. I was like, geez, you know, Shek, you're the problem, you know. And I thought about it and I was like, I actually don't care if so-and-so doesn't like me anymore. I actually don't care if that person doesn't like me either. And also trying to reclaim the B word and the D word, diva. And trying to know that being a diva is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. That's where I am, to be fair. I actually think I'm in a better space with that, and just saying that this is how much it costs to book a show, and I decide my value, not you don't do it for me. So if this price doesn't work with you, then let's try another time. You know what I mean?
When it will work
when it will work for you. But this is me. Or being able to say that client gave me a hard time last time we worked. I don't actually want to work with them again. It's a bad loss, but at the same time it's my sanity intact, and not even my sanity, my team's sanity, because they're the ones that really engage, or whatever the situation is. I think I'm getting better with seeing myself for who I am and what I want to stand for, and that sometimes means saying no, being disliked by important people, or being a loner and not wanting to go out. I am a big loner. But at the end of the day, I feel like the more that I'm alone, the more people resonate with that and want to talk to me about like, how'd you get out the matrix? Which is what someone said to me the other day, and I didn't realize that, oh shit, I'm actually not like in it. I'm somehow out of it. And I think I've worked very hard at creating my home, my studio, my safe space, my boundaries. So as much as we've spoken about how they exist, I actually do want to give credit to the fact that I have been trying. I have set up some sort of system to say no. And I think it's now trying to reinforce those things. And like we said, being able to go back and say, actually, I made a mistake. I'm not comfortable. And that, I feel like that happened the last time we were together on that shoot that we did.
Yeah.
I had said yes and I'd gone to the shoot, but then I was like, I don't actually want to wear this on camera.
I remember that actually.
Yeah, this isn't about money. This is just about me being comfortable, and I'm actually not comfortable, right? But
and when you did that, remember, I heard it, and I think that's when I was like, I actually like her, because I'm the same. But at first you start by feeling like, oh, am I not going to be liked? But as soon as they gave you something you're comfortable with, it actually showed.
Yeah. I'm glad I spoke up for myself. But then also it's like I ended up staying and going through with it. I wasn't happy with anything I was wearing that day. I would never wear that or be comfortable with showing my body. I mean, my boob was this big on a billboard every time I drove past. But let me be real with you, the more time passed, the more okay I was with it. And the more comfortable I was with it. And the more I thought these pictures are beautiful. But in the moment, I was overwhelmed and it wasn't me and whatever. So I'm contradicting myself and saying this now, but like, I'm actually glad I went through with that campaign because it was empowering for me in a way that is outside of my personal capacity, and just in a personal way, that campaign was empowering for me.
So it was another Idols moment.
So it was another Idols moment where I just did it, and but I did stop. I did say to my sister, I'm like, and my sister's like, Shek, I haven't signed the contract yet. If you're uncomfortable, we can go. And I was like, I am uncomfortable. Please tell them that I want to go. So she told them that I was going to leave, and they came back and they said, please don't go.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
We can talk about it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that from that team. They listened. They were very understanding. And at the end of the day, I like the photos. So sometimes I am a bit in my head.
No, but maybe that's where there's two sides of self-doubt, where there are things that we're not really comfortable with, because that happens with me sometimes. I'm like, I don't think I should do this. I don't think I should do this. And then in retrospect, I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, it's actually not that bad.
It's not bad.
Because there's times where it's just us being in our own way. But both the times you've actually gone through with it, you've gotten around to it, and you're like, oh, actually, that was a really good decision. But in what you're saying, you actually have drawn so many boundaries.
I have.
In
That's
your
why
life.
I'm like, the truth is, I've done everything
like-
I can do for now.
Exactly, and you've done it in the big ways, because this is like your art, what you love, and what makes you feel comfortable, and what cultivates your creativity as well. And that thing about being alone is such an interesting thing, because in everything that we've spoken about, I have one rule in life: never be at a table where you can't say no. Right? So I find myself being more of a loner because I'm too scared that I won't be able to say no.
Yeah.
But never be at a negotiating table where you can't say no. And I think in the matrix that you're speaking about, it's the matrix, it's not just in the music industry, but in the matrix of life.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I've had to say no to for my sanity, because there's certain decisions that are a yes, but you know that you're going to get over it in a week.
Yeah.
But then there's certain yeses you can never come back from.
Yeah.
The fact that you
Yes.
can draw boundaries for the yeses that you know you would never come back from, career-wise,
Yeah.
is huge, because we're speaking about a world that is very capitalistic, that
Yeah.
that holds our bags like this.
Yeah.
And I pride myself on being able to say no in those times. I may fail personally, you know, but I'll sit with myself, and it's not going to really change too much in my space. It might bother me for like a month or two, or like you sit down with yourself, you're like, why did you say yes to that? Like
Yeah.
6 months later. But what I've found is in the conversations like the ones that you were having, you always feel like you're the problem in the beginning,
Yeah.
because people can't really accept the person now who's saying no and drawing the boundaries. But eventually it works out.
Yep.
It works out, like it did when you had to say goodbye to the friend and you felt like, okay, this works out. It may not show in that moment, but eventually drawing those boundaries and saying no comes together eventually.
Yeah.
And you may lose a lot of people.
But they're the right people to lose.
They're the right people to lose.
Yeah.
And I was actually reflecting on a song, your song, Insecure. You said you're
Yes.
your only friend.
Yeah.
And are you your best in solitude or with community? Like in retrospect of everything that you've spoken about around boundaries and having to actually cut things off and
Good
spend time
question.
by yourself. Like what are the benefits and the pitfalls of each? And are you okay with yourself with that?
So, if I haven't made it clear enough,
Yeah.
I am very good alone,
Yeah.
but I also struggle alone.
Yeah.
And I can maybe binge eat a lot if I'm alone, or, you know, things that I wouldn't maybe do if there's people around me. But alone, I'm also very conquerous. I also get a lot done. I do healthy things by myself. But I'm a Libra, so I'm always living in the balance of like, you know, the good and the bad. And I'm always trying to encourage myself to be good alone. But I am who I am today because of my community.
Yeah.
So I do keep them extremely close as possible. Yeah.
I actually saw it with your sister.
Yeah.
Because when I was also like reading or listening to the song, and you're like your only friend, I'm like, yeah, I saw you with your sister.
Yeah, no, she's my
I
world. My sister's my soulmate.
I could see it actually.
Yeah, she's definitely my soulmate. And I have lots of friends, so they probably hate that line, but I love y'all. I have a beautiful group of girls. But Insecure is just really, it's a really, music is like that, you know.
Yeah.
You'll find different truths.
In it. And duality is okay. Someone actually
Right.
taught me that duality is okay. Two things can be true at the same time.
Yep.
And you know what I've realized about solitude is that it's needed, because you never really want to get to a place when you're too dependent on people, because people are just
100%.
inherently flawed, and like you can love them to bits, but they can also have their own things and their own realities
100%.
where it's great. I find that
I really love that.
like two things can be true at the
I
same
really love
time,
that.
because I saw you with her, but I also understand when you said I just needed my solitude and those people to leave my house.
Yeah.
Love you guys, but I just needed that time.
I'll miss them in an hour.
Yeah.
But I need to take that hour.
And it's needed. It's needed, because I'm also the same. You need to recharge in one way or another. But your community has been pivotal in making you go on idols the day you decided I actually don't want to do this. And he's like, girl, I woke up.
Yeah.
So you're definitely gonna go.
She's very Virgo.
Is she a Virgo?
Yeah, she's
Oh,
very
I love
like,
it.
but then why am I awake and dressed? We're going.
And you're gonna do it.
And
And
you're
you're
gonna
gonna do
do
it
it.
well.
And you're going to do great. Fair.
And even on set, like, she gives you the room to be yourself. But at the same time, the decision is also yours.
Yes.
So she still allows you solitude, even in the moment
She
where
never
you know.
makes any decisions for me, yeah.
You see, and that's also very needed. And we've gone around in a beautiful circle where I feel like I'm talking
Thank
to
you.
myself.
Thank you so much.
I feel like I'm talking to myself. But I wonder if you had to meet little Shekhinah at 9 again,
Oh
or at
my.
16, what would you say to her now that you know what you know at 29?
Oh, I would tell her she's beautiful.
Yeah, she is.
Shit is stop. I'd tell her she's beautiful. I'll tell it to her 100 times.
Yeah.
You're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful. Until she tells me to stop shaking her. And I would also tell her to dream bigger.
Yeah.
Because your biggest dreams, you achieve them sooner than you thought you would. So
Yeah.
you're going to need to dream a bit bigger. Yeah.
And be okay with it.
Yeah, yeah.
And be okay with it.
Yeah. What would you tell your 9-year-old self?
Woo.
Just for my sake.
That there's nothing wrong with her and she's enough.
Okay.
You know, like, a lot of us are not told that we're enough.
Yeah.
Because I think this whole conversation has been about the need to be liked and to be accepted and all of that. A lot of us are not told that we are enough. So if I had to reflect to my 9-year-old self who just wanted to fit in, my life has been a lot about fitting in, you know, even with family, actually.
Yeah.
But if I told her that she was enough, I don't think she would have tried so hard.
Oh.
It's worked, I guess, because overachiever, whatever. It's worked in that regard. But I think in the conversations that I've had with myself, I can admit that not all of them were healthy, all because I didn't have that fundamental understanding that I
you were
was enough.
Yeah.
So I would also shake her and like, you're
Yeah.
enough. Stop
Yeah.
trying so hard. You don't have to fit in. Because it's very hard to break out of those things.
Oof.
And I don't want to be 50 the day I realize that I actually don't have to fit in with
Yeah.
anyone or be accepted by anyone. So yeah, so that's what I'll tell my 9-year-old self. I didn't expect that question.
Sorry. So you're enough and you're beautiful.
And you're beautiful. That's what we're going to be saying to our younger selves, because I don't think the 9-year-old self ever leaves us. It's
No.
always within us. It's the inner child, and we can still have those healthy conversations with the inner
So
children.
if anyone is watching and they have kids, tell them they're beautiful.
And they're enough.
Yep.
Yep. And we have a thing on the show where the affirmation that you would tell yourself in retrospect of everything and everything that you know now and the boundaries that you actually have in your life. But just in general, what is that one affirmation? You have to start with, my name is Shekhinah and I am.
My name is Shekhinah and I ooze inspiration, and I am love, and I am enough. Yeah, I think I always try and remind myself to stay inspired, because life can get a bit cyclical, but there's more.
There's always more.
There's lots inside of me. Yeah.
And you know, the beautiful thing is about how life works. There's so many people like myself that were actually rooting for you even on Idols. You have a very interesting, beautiful voice, and I remember that. But also how you've inspired people with your music. But I've been lucky enough to actually see you outside of the music as well, and I've been inspired by how you actually do radiate love, and how your music actually makes us feel enough. You know, like, you know, you listen to a song like, she's talking about me.
I'm so
He's
glad.
talking about me.
I'm
And I
so
know we're
glad.
joking around
Thank
about
you.
Musa and him singing different.
Yeah.
But it's so beautiful to understand that I may be different in my own way, but I'm so enough in a way that you would never understand about
Yeah.
me. Thank you to Shekhinah for coming on the show. I remember watching her at home and I thought she was incredible, but to find that the person behind it all, behind the music, behind the accolades is just as beautiful, has been such a beautiful moment for me. I love having these conversations because they make everyone at home, like they make me feel like we're not alone. The conversations we have with ourselves are not weird. You also spoke about how you feel like you're the problem. Most often than not, you're not the problem. I think it's just about having healthier conversations with ourselves and understanding that you're beautiful, you're enough, and you're loved, and you are necessary, you know. I think that's the other thing, knowing that you're necessary for things to work in this world. You may be as small as a grain of sand in the bigger scheme of things, but it's a necessary part of how the world moves, and the things that need to happen because of your presence. So thank you for joining us on Mindful Mondays and joining us on this journey, joining us as we speak to beautiful people. But I hope that this conversation is a reflection of how you'll be able to see yourself and that you matter. So thank you.